Okay, guys, here we are. It's the last chapter of the story. Okay, chapter 10, The Greatest Explorers. Radio transcript, Valles Marineris, Sol 115, Mars year 57. Marineris Base. Dr. Ava Harper, have you returned to the buggy? Over. Unknown. Yeah, she's in the cargo hold. Elijah is looking after her. Marineris Base. I don't understand. Who is in the cargo hold? Over. Unknown. My mum, Dr. Ava Harper. This is Jazz. Don't worry, she's getting better. Marineris Base. To be clear, we are speaking to Jazz Harper, the daughter of Ava Harper. Over. Jazz Harper. Yes, my mum got sick with hypothermia, so I'm driving her back to the colony. She didn't find any aliens. Sorry. Over. Marineris Base. You are driving the buggy? Jazz Harper. Well, Elijah was too scared, and Mum can't do anything right now. She's all foggy and getting too cold. Over. Break in transcript. 12 seconds. Jazz Harper. Hello? Are you still there? Marineris Base. Yes, we are just discussing. How is it that you are in the buggy? Over. Jazz Harper. Well, look, don't get cross or anything. We knew Mum was looking for aliens, and we knew that we were alien experts from all the games we play. Also, Elijah wanted to see some Mars rocks up close. Anyway, it turned out to be a good thing, didn't it? It meant that we were there to rescue Mum when her suit went wrong. Over. Marineris Base. This is highly unusual, Jazz Harper. We are going to discuss the best course of action. Please keep communicating with us and listen carefully to our instructions. We want to make sure that you all get home safely. It looks as if you're heading too far west. Adjust your course a little to the south. Over. Jazz Harper. South. Where's the compass? Unknown. There is no compass on Mars, Jazz. Jazz Harper. That's right. What did she say? The sun is starting to set over there. So south must be... I've got it. Heading south. Over and out. Break in transcript. 44 seconds. Officer Sean Jones. Hello, Jazz. This is Officer Sean Jones. Can you tell us the condition of the patient? Over. Jazz Harper. Elijah says that she's awake and shivering. She wasn't shivering before. Does that mean she's getting worse? Over. Officer Sean Jones. No, it's a good sign. It means that her body has started to fight the cold. What steps have you taken so far to aid the patient? Over. Jazz Harper. We wrapped her middle up inside out. We wrapped her middle inside out. Silver ponchos. Placed warm socks over her hands and feet and started the engine to warm up the buggy. It's up to 10 degrees now. Over. Good. If she gets up to 20 degrees, stop the buggy, allow it to fall a little way before continuing. She shouldn't be warmed up too fast. Over. Got it. Over. One more thing. We have the dirt. Over. Officer Sean Jones. Sorry, Jazz, could you repeat that? Did you say dirt? Over. Jazz Harper. Yes, the dirt Mum collected in the jar. Over. Officer Sean Jones. Do you mean the soil sample from the cave? The one that she was there to collect? Over. Jazz Harper. Yeah, it's on her belt. Over. Officer Sean Jones. Well, let's just worry about getting you all home. Now listen carefully, Jazz. You seem to be approaching a large crater. Head south. Repeat, head south. Over. Jazz Harper. Roger that, Officer Jones. Elijah, hold on tight. And now we've got to the Morning Universe newspaper. This must be after they got back. There is life on Mars. Mars's youngest scientists are the first to discover living matter on the red planet. Two young stowaways, Jazz Harper, 11, and Elijah Kiros, 10, have been the first to discover native life on Mars. After a whirlwind adventure across the Martian desert, which involved saving the life of renowned biologist Dr. Ava Harper. Dr. Harper was on an expedition to replace a valuable Martian soil sample lost during a heating system failure in the Marineris colony laboratories. The expedition involved a 32-kilometer buggy ride across the surface of Mars to a remote cave, close to the warm Martian equator and showing evidence of water. Scientists had identified the cave as a likely location for microbial life. However, The mission ran into trouble when the heating regulator on Dr. Harper's spacesuit malfunctioned, and she began to show signs of hypothermia, causing her to collapse shortly after collecting the sample. The regulators are a critical piece of equipment for any explorer on Mars, as the temperature averages at a punishing minus 60 degrees Celsius. Luckily, 2 young stowaways were on hand to mount a rescue mission. Unbeknown to Dr. Harper, her daughter Jazz and friend Elijah Kiros had hidden in the storage compartment in the back of the Mars buggy. "We came to Mars to learn about space, just like all the grown-ups did," said Elijah, explaining why the pair had sneaked onto the buggy in the first place. "We are determined to find alien life, and that's exactly what happened." Jazz told the universe, Obviously, we knew that it would be microbes. We weren't expecting aliens with tentacles and 3 eyes or anything. We're not babies. Early experiments performed on the sample show that it contains several distinct microbial organisms. Though the organisms are smaller than specks of dust, they hold the key to how life might flourish on Mars as a home away from home for humankind. "We were determined to find alien life, and that's exactly what happened," Jazz Harper. Because you read this, are young explorers our future? Our experts certainly think so. Dr. Ava Harper, read all about her adventures. How to cope with the journey to Marineris, our top tips. Think you could be a space explorer? Read how to apply. So wow, we've learned a lot there from that newspaper article about what happened. Okay, that they found life on Mars in the sample on Mum's belt. Here we go. Jazz Harper. Subject: front page news. Dear Gran, I'm front page news on the Morning Universe website. Did you see? Elijah and I rescued Mum from nearly certain death by hypothermia and brought back the soil sample that proved that there was life on Mars. It turns out that the aliens are actually microbes, which are itty-bitty wriggly creatures rather than 5-legged green-skinned monsters. Apparently that's still a huge deal, huge enough to change the future of Mars forever. When I arrived back at base after piloting the Mars buggy, everyone in the colony was there to meet us. I mean everyone. Ellie Mae leapt on Elijah as soon as he took off his spacesuit, and his parents grabbed him and sobbed. They hugged me as well, since Mum was being carried away to the medical bay. I knew she was getting better by that time, because for the last part of the journey she was talking normally again. Miss Kay, my teacher, was standing there, looking like she wanted to say, "Don't be ridiculous," about the whole thing. Letitia watched with her mouth open, unable to believe her eyes. To be fair, Letitia deserves some credit. If she hadn't said that I would never be an explorer, I wouldn't have sneaked into Mum's buggy. If I hadn't been in that buggy, Mum might have been in serious trouble, and the microbes might have never been found. I could tell that the grown-ups really wanted to tell us off too, but they couldn't because we saved Mum and the microbes. They wanted to examine the soil sample right away. They snatched it from us and scurried away before they could vanish. I said that Elijah and I wanted to have a look as well. You should have seen their faces, Gran. They couldn't believe what I was asking. They couldn't exactly say no after I'd brought back the sample with only the help of my trusty sidekick Elijah, could they? Well, first the scientists told us to shower and get changed and eat something, since we hadn't eaten all day. Once we'd done that, the scientists from Mum's lab led us over to the microscopes, and I looked through one. I could see all these tiny blobs wriggling about. They told us the tiny blobs were microbes, and they were proof that there was really life on Mars. And they said that it was all thanks to me and Elijah. Since then, we've been on all sorts of photos and interviews with the press via a really slow video link. But that's what I'm excited about, is that I'm a real explorer, just like you. I've learned a lot since being on Mars about how to be a real explorer. I've learned about how to keep equipment clean and care for it properly. I've learned about how to prepare food, even with the weirdest ingredients. I've learned how to recognize and treat hypothermia. But most of all, I realised that every little thing that happens in the colony, even the boring bits, plays a part in helping us to survive and explore Mars. Hugs and kisses, Jazz. P.S. I remembered warm socks. Attachment, famous. And there's the picture of them two rescuing Mum from hypothermia and getting back to the colony. As you can see here, here's the medical team here. You can see this man with the beard and another woman here, I think. From Ellen Sweeney, that's grand. Front page news. My dearest Jazz, my brave, bold girl. I thought about using this email to scold you and telling you off for going off on a dangerous planet in uncertain conditions without even taking sensible precautions, like telling someone where you were going. I thought about it, but I knew it wouldn't do any good. Exploration is in your blood, my duck. All that there is left to say is that I'm proud of you for being an independent thinker, for acting bravely in the face of danger, and for always wanting to know more. But most of all, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of how much you've learned. It took me years to understand that exploring wasn't just about the big, exciting discoveries. It's about looking for each other and paying attention to the details. You've come a long way, Jazz, and you've still got so far to go. I expect that life on Mars will improve for you now after all you and that excellent friend of yours have made the biggest scientific discovery in centuries. I think that makes you the greatest explorers on Mars. Lots and lots of love, Gran. Afterward, Afterword by Jazz Harper. 10th of June. Let's look at the date here. 2111, so a long time in the future. Sol 18, Mars year 84. So this is when Jazz is growing up. When I heard that researchers had uncovered my old diaries in the Marineris archives, I confess that I was worried. My first year on Mars was marked by all sorts of trouble, most of it caused by me, with some help from Elijah. What is clear is that I was fascinated by science from a young age, and that I was never going to sit around waiting for other people to discover things. Although I didn't stow away on any more buggy rides to remote caves, I still learned so much over the following years on Mars. At school, we studied how plants grew in greenhouses and experimented with different sorts of food. Elijah was excited to analyse rocks from different areas of Mars, and I couldn't wait to examine the various microorganisms that had been collected in the labs. My 5 years on Mars seemed to fly by, and by the end, I didn't want to leave. After all, Elijah's family had decided to settle there for good. The colony was expanding, and new experiments were starting all the time. The algae farms were flourishing, and the artificial lake was almost complete. However, Gran was getting older, and Mum and I wanted to look after her. So we flew home to spicy curries, chocolate fudge cake, and tales of the jungle. This time, I had my own tales to share too. I decided to spend the next decade on Earth going to university and learning all that I could, but Mars was an itch that I couldn't scratch. In 2077, aged 28, I took a job on a freight ship to Mars because it was the quickest way to get back to the planet I'd fallen in love with. When I arrived, things were very different and still changing fast. For starters, the red planet was no longer completely red. As the spaceship flew closer, I saw greenish splodges that showed where algae crops were growing, and white splodges that signified ice-covered artificial lakes. The colony was 3 times the size it had been when I left. It had its own chemical extraction plants and factories, which meant that it relied less on resources from Earth. There were more luxuries too, a sports hall for playing Mars ball. The rules had changed since Elijah and I had first invented them, and the whole school with its own labs. Elijah was already planning his first expedition to Olympus Mons, and was in charge of a team that was collecting and analysing rock samples from all over Mars. I quickly joined a team of explorers and scientists investigating how Martian life forms and could help humans to thrive on the red planet. We achieved other milestones too. Elijah met a lovely chemical engineer and they got married. Their children were among the first babies born on Mars. When the first homes were built above ground, I made sure that I was on the top of the list to buy one. Now I live in a lovely apartment with windows on 3 sides, overlooking Marineris Valley. Sometimes I still get my binoculars and spy on the land below, just in case I see aliens sneaking among the lichen fields and biodomes. Once our adventuring days were done, Elijah and I accomplished one of our proudest achievements. We set up the first university of Mars. Now students travel to this planet from all over Earth to learn the science of the red planet. I'm now 72 in Earth years, and I still hope to see a few more changes in the future. We've achieved so much already. We're beginning to develop an atmosphere so that the air on Mars is breathable and the temperatures become bearable. We've built domed ecosystems of plants that act as safe havens for endangering insect species from Earth, and soon we'll be able to transport larger animals to give them a new life here on Mars. But most importantly of all, we've built a home. Jazz Harper, Space Explorer. Look at the pictures here. We've got Jazz meeting Gran again and returning. We've got Jazz graduating from the university on Earth. Okay, Elijah getting married. There's Jazz there, I think. And that's Ellie Mae. There's Jazz when she was younger. There. And here's Jazz as she's got older. And finally here we see Jazz living above ground on the Marineris colony, looking over the biodomes and looking over the Mars colony. And that's the end of the Jazz Harper space adventure, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed the story. Check out the next YouTube video for the things that we're going to do today. But I really hope you enjoyed our first story in Year 5.